Hi, everybody. I'm Tildy Wahardo. I'm the host of Divine Inspired Messages for the 1 million meditators. I'm super excited. This is my first broadcast, and I want to first thank Anita Morrow, the founder of 1 million meditators, for inviting me to join all of you and to share my messages, really, of what I call divine inspired messages. Just to give you a little bit background as to myself and why I really created or think that it's important for me to share these divine inspired messages with you. Um, my belief system was pretty screwed up in my younger years before I turned 21, 24, I think it was. I had experienced a pretty traumatic childhood and had some uh, uh, trauma that I was dealing with in my early years. And luckily for me, that I experienced a true miracle from God in that God healed my mind. And I was having flashbacks, a lot of flashbacks coming back, and was having suicidal thoughts because of that. And in March of 1994, I was healed from that, and I felt the power of God and the power of love come over me, and just take those flashbacks away. And since then is what I have been sharing that message with other people because of the power, first of all, that I felt, and the then transformation that I experienced in my own life after that, in that it allowed me to see myself as the woman that I wanted to become. And so that spiritual experience for me then allowed me to start transforming my mind. And I did that using what is now called positive psychology practices. Mind you, this was mid 90s when I first started doing the work. And so I went dramatically from a life full of anger, fear, and shame to a life filled with faith, hope, and love. And I've never been the same. And so that's that's primarily why I'm so passionate about the messages that I share, or the work that I do for women in particular, is really helping them to tap into that true source of power that we all have, both men and women. But for me, my passion has always been to empower women to step into their own power and to start to trust ourselves more and to find our way. Hi, everybody. Hi, Anita. Hi, May. Thank you for joining. So ever since then, that happened in 1994, like I said, and totally radically changed my life. And I've been on a mission ever since then to touch as many hearts and lives as I possibly can, and just to remind people of who we are, why we're here, and how to tap into that true source of power that I call God. And that has been my true source of power, my peace, my joy, my love, and how it's allowed me to forgive the unforgivable as well, to be able to move forward in my own life. And so, and fast forward 2017, I've always received what a lot of us call downloads, right? Ever since then, in 1994, I would have these experiences, what I'll call experiences with God, and very intimate, very private experiences where things were revealed to me, not only about myself, but about humanity sometimes, which was overwhelming. But I always held those messages to myself because I didn't know quite what to do with them. And so this really is a coming out of sorts for me, in sharing with you some of the things that I have learned, not only about myself, but also us as humans and human behavior, and what really God has shown me the last few years, and what needs to happen in the coming years and in the coming year for us to truly heal and awaken ourselves. And so in 2017 is when I really started to hear and feel that there was an identity crisis. And this was at the beginning of 2017, right after the 2016 election. And I kept hearing identity crisis, identity crisis. And I started to see it all around me and how people were losing a sense of self. And there was just so much division, so much people were looking outside of themselves for peace. They were looking to status, money, things, cars, homes, all of those things to find themselves. And obviously, that never works. And so what God revealed to me at the end of 2017 when I was in San Francisco, and I was asked to walk the streets of San Francisco. And if any of you have ever been to San Francisco, I was specifically asked to walk the Tenderloin District. And the Tenderloin District is one of the most impoverished zones in San Francisco. And at first I thought that I had heard it wrong. At least that's what I hope, because it's really dangerous. There's a lot of drug addicts. It's a horrible, horrible neighborhood. To really see humanity and in that condition in particular. But what I saw as I was walking through there, and it's a longer story than I can share now, but as I saw that, I saw the identity crisis, and not only in the faces of the homeless and the drug addicts and the prostitutes, but as you come out of the Tenderloin District, you go into the more affluent areas of San Francisco, and I saw the same look on the affluent people's faces that I saw on the faces of those that were homeless or drug addicts. And it was just lost, completely lost, not knowing who they were or why they were here. And when I got back to my friend's apartment in San Francisco, I got a download, because I was like, okay, God, I get it. I see it everywhere. What am I supposed to do with that? And that's when I received a download that I call the divine quotient. And it is simple, very, very simple. The first thing I saw was how most of us look to ourselves. So there's a me over me, sort of division, if you can see that in your own imagination, where we look to ourselves for all the answers. We look to degrees. We look to how much money we have. We look just to all our past experiences in helping us decide who we are and why we're here, and things like that. And the next thing that I saw was others over me. And so for me, as I was reflecting this, I was seeing this, and I was reflecting on my own life, and how when I look to others to tell me what to do or why I'm here, how a lot of times that just doesn't feel right. It might start off feeling right, but it never really does in the end. And the same thing as when you look to yourself, there's always an end to that, right? There's never ongoing wisdom that really comes from that, or a sense of alignment or peace that comes when we look to ourselves simply. And so I saw me over me, and I saw others over me. And then the third thing that I saw, and I wrote down, was God over me. And when I saw that, it just hit me. I mean, I felt chills, and I normally feel chills just like I'm feeling now, from my head, the crown of my head, to the tips of my toes. And I saw God over me as the divine quotient. And I knew at that time that that's what we're all missing, is that divine quotient is continually looking to God, looking to our higher self, looking inside of ourselves, not outside of ourselves, but really tapping into that alignment, into that higher place where we can find the answers that we're looking for, where we can find the peace that we're looking for, where we can find the clarity. We can find an infinite amount of creativity, of peace, of joy, of love, of forgiveness. It is from that place that we find ourselves. Really find ourselves. And while we can look to others and we can look to ourselves, to our human self, or outside of ourselves to things or stuff, that will never, ever give us the satisfaction that we need. And hence why I saw the looks on people's faces of having an identity crisis. And you fast forward that to last year. And so I created this Divine Quotient program to help people come out of that and find their identity in that centeredness. And I did a TEDx talk on that if you want to learn more about that. But really, fast forward to last year and what I saw and I felt, and I got the download again, sort of piggybacking on what I had learned in 2017 and 2018, was about how being so misaligned, we're living so much out of fear and not from love. And so as we're living misaligned and mostly in fear, and you just look at the world around us, there is an identity crisis and we're mostly living in fear now. We are actually projecting or creating the world that we're living in. And until we get more aligned and until we get back in alignment with God, with our higher self, with our true self, and we start living from a place of love and discernment and truth, and simply from that place, then the world will change. And so what I was shown last year, before I came back to Croatia in June, was that, if you guys remember that test that they did with those glasses of water, can't remember what the test was, but they spoke hate to one glass of water, and then they spoke positivity or love to the other glass of water, and one of the glasses of water turned black and the other was living and thriving. And so think about this, because this is what I was shown. I was shown how so many of the things that we think, that we say, or everything that we think, say, do, is a reflection, or the world is a reflection of everything that we say, think, and do. And so when you look out into the news, when you look at your own families, maybe the words of your own mouth, the thoughts of your own mind, what is it that we're projecting as individuals into this world? And the catastrophic effects that is having right now into the environment, that is what I was shown. And what I was shown that was even more profoundly devastating to me is that is more to blame than throwing a plastic bottle into the ocean. How 80% of the things that we do, say, and think are reflection of the global climate that we're creating. 20% of that happens to be the emissions, happens to be all of this. And when I felt that and I heard that and I saw it, like I was living it, it just broke my heart. I felt what God felt. And again, I thought, that's just crazy. How can that be? But I was reminded of that test. And when you really think about it, and the science is proving it now, you look back on COVID in March when everything was at a standstill and we were just almost at one and at peace. And we were looking out for each other. We weren't at war with each other with words or politics and all of that crap that happens, but we were at peace. And you look back to see what happened to the earth and to our environment and how that was healing. And it wasn't just because we weren't driving anywhere, it was because of what we were thinking and what we were feeling for each other. And so my quest, my whole purpose of doing these divine inspired messages is to remind us of who we are, why we're here, and how we affect each other. And yes, to love God, to love ourselves, and to love others. Because that's really the only thing that's going to change the world. So I thank you, and I thank you for joining. If you have, I'm out of time, but if you have any questions, I'll answer them after I shut down the broadcast. And I love you all. Go out, be the light, shine bright, and remember, everything you say, you think, and you do, it really does matter. I love you.